This is a huge story. The president making this announcement from the Netherlands today, and joining us right now to discuss this, a man who knows the Netherlands pretty well, the former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Pete Hoekstra.
And Mr. Chairman, it is great to have you along. And just you correct me on your biography, but if memory serves, Pete, you lived in the Netherlands to what, age 3 or 4 when you immigrated to the United States?
That's right. I'm a native-born Dutchman. My parents immigrated in 1956. They were thrilled with the opportunity to come to America when things in Western Europe were still pretty dismal, and it didn't look like there was a very bright future.
Well, we're glad you made it to these shores, and of course the people of Michigan sent you on to the Congress of the United States. And speaking of the Congress, as you know, Pete, I guess the Intelligence Committee on both sides of the aisle, really a bipartisan bill was working its way through the House. Is this an effort by President Obama, both politically and substantively, to get out in front of the bill that was already being drawn up by the members of the House Intelligence Committee?
I've got no idea what the president is doing here. It appears that you're right, especially Dutch Ruppersberger and Mike Rogers in the House of Representatives, the bipartisan leadership in the House on the Intelligence Committee, were moving forward with a bill. I'm not even sure that the president coming out in front of this bill is going to help its passage or will hurt its passage. All I know is I think Dutch and Mike, I'm glad there's some adults in the room. Same thing with Dianne Feinstein and Saxby Chambliss over on the Senate side. I have no idea where the president is. This is a president who condemned these programs when he was in the Senate. He became president. He found out how valuable they were. He took them to an extent that, is really pretty amazing, the capabilities of those programs as they've grown and expanded in the first 5 years of his presidency. He used them extensively. Then Edward Snowden comes out. The president doesn't defend the programs, doesn't explain the misperceptions that were created by these programs, and that they were primarily, if not exclusively, focused on gathering intelligence overseas against non-U.S. persons, and now is retreating, and I don't even know if he's got the details worked on how this thing is actually going to function and keep America safe. He's been confused on this program from the beginning, and this only adds more confusion to it.
Well, Pete, you say it's confusion. There are a lot of people wondering, wait a minute, is this confusion or collusion in terms of the accumulation of information, whether for political purposes or, quite frankly, something more sinister going on in terms of an abridgment of privacy rights in the United States? Do you still just chalk it up to confusion or a kind of absentee commander-in-chief?
Well, remember, no, I don't think it was an absentee commander-in-chief. This was the first program that I was briefed on when I became chairman of the Intelligence Committee. I think I may have shared that with you when I was with you earlier, a couple of weeks ago. This program is about metadata collection. It's about phone calls and those types of things. It's not about content. The real power of this program is not the information and the data that they have stored or collected on U.S. phone calls and U.S. records. The real value is on tracking people overseas who have and are not protected at all by any U.S. constitutional rights. And then there are protections put in place when terrorists overseas target American phone calls. They're calling into the United States, and then from my perspective, there are sufficient legal protections that before any of those folks who are called in the United States are tracked, that there's judicial oversight. This just may be a fundamental disagreement between some folks. I don't believe that this program infringed on U.S. rights, but the president never made the case for that, never explained how the program worked, and I think we're now in a position where he's making changes that I think in the end are going to damage our national security.
Well, Pete, let me ask you this, because this is coming from the Netherlands right now. The president is over there. You mentioned the importance of this around the globe here, and we know the program was not popular, especially with the likes of Angela Merkel. Do you think in any way the president was maybe pressured into making this announcement as some sort of bargaining chip as these negotiations with other world leaders continue on nuclear weapons in the Netherlands?
Well, I mean, I think what the president is talking about here, again, it's not clear exactly what he's talking about, but I think he's talking about the collection of phone data of U.S. phones. I don't think they're going to leave the records of, I'm assuming the NSA is still going to be collecting email addresses, email traffic, and phone calls and phone records of people of international. Internationally. He's not going to give that up.
Yeah, it's interesting the timing and the place of this announcement, so we'll follow up and have more on this throughout the show. Thanks to Pete Hoekstra, former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, for being with us. Of course, we want to hear from you. What do you think about this and the president's announcement? You can reach out to us on social media. Find us on Twitter @